Because if we rush this, then I could spoil everything, and then you could get spoiled. This has to be very, very done very carefully, which is why I'm going to rely on Srila Prabhupada to guide us through this, because that's what he did in this Krishna book. So let me see if I can find it. I lost it. It's unfortunate. So, who remembers where we were last time? Someone say something. We were in the Rasa dance, but who remembers?
You told that there were few categories of gopis. One of them were able to go to the Rasa dance, few of them couldn't go, and those were the gopis which were like, and they had some small amount of tapasya that needed to be done, so that they couldn't eternally into. So they gave up their body.
Yes.
They were explaining their conditions, and they were giving up so many things, like family members, and he also said few of them were milking cows, few of them were cooking, and few of them were serving food. Everyone left their duties and ran towards Krishna, and they heard the flute sound on Sharad Purnima.
Yes, yes. So actually Rishi just summed it up pretty good where we were talking about. Actually, I heard Rishi, Nandini Mata was asking Rishi what was happening during Bhagavatam class this morning. And I just overheard, I was doing my sevas here, and I overheard Rishi giving a synopsis of the Bhagavatam class. I was like, wow, that was better than me actually giving the Bhagavatam class. So, so I was very much appreciating. So Rishi, thank you. Keep paying attention in classes and keep repeating what you hear, because you're doing very nice. So yes, so many things have happened. The gopis, Prabhupada did a ton of explaining how we can really turn this into an abomination if we see this with material vision. This isn't the ordinary sense gratification between men and women, especially young men and young women. This is a relationship between the highest tier of devotees and God Himself. So this is not, this isn't like ordinary like sex literature and things like that. This is, this is the highest pinnacle of exchanges of love between the devotees, the devotee and the Lord. And these are the highest devotees. But interestingly enough, in the Bhagavatam, it said that the highest devotees have this mood of romance towards the Lord. Now, this is, this is quite esoteric. There's a reason that there's 9 cantos before it gets to this part in the Bhagavatam. But we are doing Krishna's pastimes, and we've gone from Krishna's birth, mother, all the way to this point, and now you happen to come when we're in the middle of the Rasa dance. So it's not like we just come here and we speak of the Rasa dance on Wednesday nights or Friday nights. We've built up to this point. So hopefully we're all qualified. But truthfully speaking, Prabhupada says a nice thing here. A person advancing in Krishna consciousness must lose interest in material activities and personal sense gratification. So if you really want to understand this, your love for the material world must diminish or even be removed altogether. And your love for the Lord, your love for Spirit, should be at its pinnacle. And that's who is qualified to hear this and really altogether, benefit from this the most. So, So it says, in the conditioned stage of the living entities, there are 2 kinds of results of fruitive activities. The conditioned living entity who is constantly engaged in sinful activities has suffering as his result, and he who is engaged in pious activities has material enjoyment as a result. In either case, material suffering or material enjoyment, the enjoyer or sufferer is conditioned by material nature. So that was, we were saying, okay, so I know exactly where we are now. But this is a really nice paragraph where Prabhupada was explaining what Rishi just said, that all the gopis are in different groups. Some of the gopis were actually eternal devotees of the Lord. That means they came from the spiritual abode and they came down here to follow the Lord and to serve Him. Now, some of the reason that the Lord comes is He comes to pick us up. So some of the gopis were the living entities like us who actually reached a perfected stage. In I don't know if you've ever heard in Ram Leela, there was a couple groups of sages who wanted to enjoy Ram in a romantic way. So actually these type of personalities in their next birth, they got to be born as gopis and enjoy with Krishna. Now also in Ram Leela, Sita's many sisters also wanted to enjoy with Ram in a romantic way, but the same thing. Ram was ekapatni. He took a ekapatni brat, means one wife, right? One wife. And so, but Krishna wasn't going to take that. So even though all of Sita's sisters wanted to enjoy with Ram, in his heart he said, "You'll have to wait." So the gopis were that perfection. So there's some gopis, and some of those gopis actually were the ones who didn't get to go. And those gopis who didn't get to go to the Ras dance, they had a little bit more purification. The modes of nature, they were just a little bit tinged with the modes of nature. They weren't completely transcendental devotees as of yet, even though they're very high devotees. We can only pray that one day we could be like these type of devotees. But that being said, they had to just do a little bit more purification. And the way Krishna purifies us is He leaves us bereft. You're going to actually see this happen throughout the Ras dance, where the ultimate, Krishna tests you, and at the same time, He will leave you feeling desperate, because this is intensifying your love, actually. So this is the type of relationship. It's not like you're in a relationship with God and you start worshiping the Lord, and then all of a sudden everything just starts manifesting to you, and He wants to give you all of your material desires and things like this. Actually, this would be the greatest injustice to you that the Lord would do. If He started fulfilling all of your material desires, you would become very attached to all these material things. And then at the time of death, you'd be most disappointed when they all have to leave you, because that's the nature of this world. So anyhow, we're going to continue on. Michael?
Yeah, I wanted to remind you because you did last time. You didn't say the prayer.
Yes. We'll do the Om Gyanas. Thank you, Michael. So, that's proper. You read alongside of me. Everyone all together, if you know these prayers.
Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svavarotikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Varakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagratatam Sadhanarandra Samvitam Tam Siddhivam Sarvetam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitam Shra Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gaurishana Vika Kanta Kanta Namaste Sattvikan Shanam Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishambhavishute Pranamami Haripriye Vanchita Partibhyashta Kripa Sindhuneva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna 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 Hare
Rama Raghava Rama. What's the Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam
Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam
Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam
Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam.
Jai. So this is the bhajan in the beginning of the Krishna book, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sing this as he would travel, and he would sing this bhajan. So this is Prabhupada put it in the very beginning of the Krishna book. All right, so let's continue on. Maharaj Parikshit heard Shukadev Goswami explain the situation of the gopis who assembled with Krishna in the Ras dance. When he heard that some of the gopis, simply by concentrating on Krishna as their paramour, became freed from all contamination of material birth and death, he said, "The gopis did not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They accepted him as a beautiful boy and considered him to be their paramour." Do you all know what a paramour is?
Lover.
It's more than just like a lover.
A secret lover.
It's more than even just a secret lover.
A secret married lover.
Yeah, kind of. It's like a forbidden lover. Like a paramour is like a forbidden lover. Like I love this person, but I should not love this person. This person might be married. This person might be, I don't know, like a monk or something. But for whatever reason, you should not love this person. Like a forbidden lover. Usually in the context of marriage, like somebody else's spouse. So that's what a paramour. So simply by concentrating on Krishna as their paramour, became freed from all contamination of material birth and death. He said the gopis did not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They accepted him as a beautiful boy and considered him to be their paramour. So how is it possible for them to get freed from the material condition just by thinking of a paramour? One should consider here that Krishna and ordinary living beings are qualitatively one. The ordinary living beings, being part and parcel of Krishna, are also Brahman, but Krishna is the supreme, Para-Brahman. The question is, if it is possible for the devotee to get free from material contaminated stage simply by thinking of Krishna, then why not others who are also thinking of someone? If one is thinking of a husband or son, or if anyone at all is thinking of another living entity, since all living entities are also Brahman, then why are they not all freed from the contaminated stage of material nature? This is a very intelligent question, because the atheists are always imitating Krishna. In these days of Kali Yuga, there are many rascals who think themselves to be as great as Krishna and who cheat people into believing that thinking of them is as good as thinking of Lord Krishna. We were just talking about some gentleman who's actually become very popular in Vrindavan doing that. You go to all of the shops in Vrindavan, and you see this man he's like on, they have pictures of all these great Vaishnava saints, and then all of a sudden this man, he's like the new incarnation of Krishna in town, and you're like, oh my God. But anyway, this is just the Kali Yuga in India. That's just it. Cheat people into believing that thinking of them is as good as thinking of Krishna, Lord Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj, apprehending the dangerous condition of blind followers of demonic imitators, therefore asked this question, and fortunately it is recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam to warn innocent people that thinking of an ordinary man and thinking of Krishna are not the same. So in one sense, qualitatively, we're the same as Krishna. Like we are nothing but Krishna, like us as living entities. But the difference in us and Krishna is like the difference between a drop of water and an entire ocean. That's the difference between you and Krishna. You're a drop of water, and Krishna is an entire ocean. You're a grain of sand, and Krishna is a giant beach, a landslide. We're not even close in comparison to Krishna's vast quantity. But we are also a little grain of sand, a part of Krishna's wonder. But that does not mean we can do the same. So, if the gopis, thinking of a forbidden lover, a paramour, could be freed from material contamination, and then maybe some Mayavadi, which is very popular in yoga schools. If some Mayavad say, oh, well, just think of any, like there's this Osho, right? You guys know of Osho? What a rascal. What a devious rascal. But he actually, he gives this false hope to people, actually, that you can think of sense pleasure and you can actually achieve something similar that could be achieved by, say, the gopis with Krishna. But it's not even close, actually. It's not even close. All it really is really like just a cheap, like a cheap imitation where you want to satisfy, I don't know, like say I wanted to sell you something and I just want to tell you what you want to hear, what you want to hear, what you want to hear. So ultimately you follow me or you get my product and so on. But ultimately, the truth is, people don't want to hear the truth. People in illusion don't want to hear the truth. The people in illusion, they want to hear illusions. So I could tell you sweet lies, and you might love me. Oh, he tells the sweetest lies. Thank you so much. You might not know it's a lie. But if I could tell you the truth, and maybe it won't be so palatable to you. It might sting. The truth might hurt sometimes. So there are many teachers like this. Like for instance, there's this Vishwananda in Vrindavan. He's telling people that he's Krishna. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful type of hope. Wow, I know Krishna. Krishna's my guru, Krishna, but this is, there's a test. Not anyone can say, I'm Krishna. Not anyone can say, oh, I'm an enlightened soul, just follow me. There's a test of what an enlightened soul looks like. There's actual qualities. Do they meet the qualities? Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes what an enlightened soul looks like in the second chapter at the end, and then also in the 18th chapter. In many chapters, Krishna is describing the enlightened soul. Who is meeting these qualities?
Well, even then, enlightened soul and Krishna are still on different levels.
Well, that's the enlightened soul, and then Krishna himself, that's,
Prabhupada
yeah.
said, if you claim you're Krishna, you should be able to pick up Govardhan Hill on your pinky.
Yes.
And then you can tell us you're Krishna.
Yes, and then also
Right?
rain.
Oh, I thought something was burning.
And also you should be able to show the Vishwarup, the universal form, like in the Bhagavad Gita.
That's the hard thing.
So this is not a cheap thing, But the Mayavadi philosophy is we're all God. I'm God, you're God, we're God. Let's have a big God party and do whatever we want. This is like the Osho philosophy. But this is not good. This is not. This is actually, believe it or not, this is what the Satanists do. They all go around, you see them, Jay-Z, Kanye, these guys?
This is
I think they just got caught. One of their big members got caught with this P. Diddy thing. You guys see? You see this? They have their satanic parties in Hollywood, and now they're all getting busted for it. But anyway, who cares what they do? But their whole philosophy is do what thou wilt. Whatever you want to do it. Follow your dreams, follow your passion. There's so many New Age gurus who teach the same thing. But this is only going to lead you further and further into samsara, further into material birth, death, disease, and old age. So anyway, Parikshit Maharaj, he's actually protecting us from falling into this trap by asking Shukadev these questions, because Shukadev is going to answer the difference between these feelings towards God and then by trying to imitate these feelings towards others, because it's a completely different form of consciousness. One, like when I see Hrishi, or let's say it's more appropriate, when I see my wife, a beautiful female, the feelings I feel towards her, a beautiful in a female body. No offense, Hrishi, I can't see it just like that. At least your body.
I don't want to see. I want you to see me like that.
I thought it was really cute. Me and Rishi and I, we were talking one day, and I think somehow the topic of homosexuality came up, but he called it gayism, and I thought that was so funny. I never heard that terminology before. But yes, me and Rishi don't have any gayism towards each other. But anyway, but to see, it's really only on the body. I'm not actually seeing my wife's soul, nor is she seeing my soul. Right now we're in the conditioned state. It's only towards the body. So, but the gopis, to see Krishna isn't in a material body. Krishna is completely spiritual, actually. And if you're able to see Krishna, you have complete spiritual vision, like all of the Vrajabasis do. It's a completely different platform. So anyway, we're going to learn about this type of platform, and we're going to put aside our own material perversions that may come up. The tendency of the biggest illusion is I'm the controller and I'm the enjoyer. In this material world, everyone is parading around thinking, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer. I'm going to enjoy like this, and I'm going to control this, and this situation. We are not the controller. Like, look at all the people fleeing Tampa right now. You guys see this hurricane? Do you think anyone's the controller there? No, none of them are the controllers. And none of them are the enjoyers. They go, no, I'll stay and enjoy. No, you'll get swept away. They'll get, Who knows? I don't know what is going on down there. I don't want to speculate. It doesn't seem natural to me. But what could be done? But still, it's far beyond. We are not the controllers and we are not the enjoyers. We can be given a little control and we can be given a little enjoyment, but it's not up to us. But Krishna is the ultimate controller, the one known as Ishvara. And he is the ultimate enjoyer. What is it? Rasa Vilasi is one of his names. He is, he's the ultimate connoisseur of ras, of tasting enjoyment.
I like that book.
Yes, in Bhaktivinoda. We'll sing about it in.
Connoisseur.
Yeah, he's a connoisseur of tasting ras. Prabhupada actually gives that word. That's how Rupa Goswami describes Krishna. He's like a ras connoisseur. So anyway, but Prabhupada translates it in English as that. So anyway, actually even thinking of the demigods cannot compare with thinking of Krishna. It is also warned in the Vaishnava Tantra that one who puts Vishnu, Narayan, or Krishna on the same level of the demigods is called a pashanda, or a rascal. On hearing this question of Maharaj Parikshit, Shukadev Goswami replied, "My dear king, your question is already answered even before this incident." Do you guys know what rascal means? Prabhupada uses this word rascal a lot, and he'll probably use it. It's a mischievous or cheeky person, especially a child or a man. What's cheeky mean? Do you guys know?
Yeah, right?
Mischievous, cheeky means
Naughty.
impudent or irreverent. but typically in an endearing or amusing way.
Gonna lead to more words. More words.
More dough.
Showing a lack of respect for people. Okay,
That's cheeky.
that's cheeky. And mischievous is causing or showing a fondness for causing trouble, but usually in a playful way. So Prabhupada actually, rascal.
Is not a very negative term.
Yeah. So rascal is not the
But
biggest.
it's not a negative, it's by love.
Yeah. Rascal is not like a.
It's like naughty, right?
So yeah, like a naughty. You're like a naughty person, but in a cheeky
You
way.
know it when you sleep with Michael.
Yes. Michael is very naughty. So there are many rascals who think themselves to be as great as Krishna and who cheat people into believing that thinking of them is as good as thinking of Krishna. So because Parikshit Maharaj wanted to clear up the situation, his spiritual master answered him very intelligently. Why are you again asking the same subject matter which has already been explained to you? Why are you so forgetful? A spiritual master is always in the superior position, so he has the right to chastise his disciple in this way. Shukadeva Goswami knew that Parikshit Maharaj asked the question not for his own understanding, but as a warning to the future innocent people who might think others to be equal to Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami then reminded Parikshit Maharaj about the salvation of Shishupal. Shishupal was always envious of Krishna, and because of his envy, Krishna killed him. Since Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shishupal gained salvation simply by seeing him. If an envious person can get salvation simply by concentrating his mind on Krishna, then what to speak of the gopis who are so dear to Krishna and always thinking of him in love? There must be some difference between the enemies and the friends. If Krishna's enemies could get freed from the material contamination and become one with the Supreme, then certainly his dear friends like the gopis are freed and with him. So this is the difference. Krishna, even the demons get liberated. Even if you look at Krishna in a really negative way, you're going to get extremely benefited. But what's to speak of the devotee, the one who actually loves Krishna with so much intensity? You have to believe that their pleasure will be that much greater. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yeyatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So someone, I'll just surrender a little bit, or I'll do what I want to do, and I'll give it some of the results to you, no problem. But then there's the person who's gonna do, well, what does Krishna want? And will maybe design their life to try and do everything that Krishna wants. That person will be rewarded so much more. So of course the gopis who have given everything, left everything behind, their families, their relationships in society. Imagine, and a lot of times devotees have to do this. A devotee, maybe, they're in good standing with their family, they're in good standing in their social life, they're in good standing in their work life. But then all of a sudden, they get attracted to Krishna consciousness and then they're inspired to leave all these things. Could we, if your family disowned you, or if your loved one disowned you, your wife disowned you, or your husband disowned you because of your spiritual path, would you stay? Would you keep going? Would you keep going if Krishna said, "Oh, I'll make you poor"? If there's no wealth promised to you, would you be able to keep going? But the gopis gave up everything for Krishna. Any thoughts of wealth, any thoughts of position. They knew they were going to be looked at. These are now unchaste women. They're, in Vedic society, they were as good as useless to society at that point. But they gave up all type of societal relations for Krishna. You must believe that the more you give to Krishna, the greater the reward is. And they didn't even care about the reward. Actually, Krishna said he couldn't even repay them because he can't do what they could do. You'll see, actually. I don't want to go to hell. But beside that, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is called Rishikesh. Hey, I know someone named that. Shukadeva Goswami also said that Krishna is Rishikesh, the super soul, whereas an ordinary man is a conditioned soul covered by the material body. Krishna and Krishna's body are the same because he is Rishikesh. Any person making a distinction between Krishna and Krishna's body is fool number one. Krishna is Rishikesh and Adhokshaja. These two particular words have been used by Parikshit Maharaj in this instance. Rishikesh is the Supersoul and Adhokshaja is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcendental to the material nature. Just to show favor to the ordinary living entities, out of his causeless mercy, he appears as he is. Unfortunately, foolish persons mistake him to be another ordinary person, and so they become eligible to go to hell. Oops. Shukadeva Goswami reconfirmed that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imperishable, immeasurable, and free from all material contamination. Shukadeva Goswami continued to inform Maharaj Parikshit that Krishna is not an ordinary person. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all spiritual qualities. He appears in this material world out of his causeless mercy, and whenever he appears as he is without change. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. There the Lord says that he appears in his spiritual potency. He does not appear under the control of this material potency. The material potency is under his control. In the Bhagavad Gita it is stated that the material potency is working under his superintendence. So you all know what the material potency is? What is it? Yeah, but what is Maya? Okay, but how do we practically understand Maya? How do we experience Maya? Everything that you know is like cosmic existence. This is the material potency. Humanity, the world as we know it. Everything that you know, all material things having to do with matter, pretty much everything that we know is what this Maya is. With the exception of the Swarup Shakti, or the Shakti of Krishna's higher energy, known as Bhakti Shakti, or the relationship, Sambandha Jnana, the relationship between us and Krishna. Everything else is actually Maya. But Krishna is actually, it's all under his control. Like in this Maya, Krishna finally released a job to Rishi yesterday. In this Maya. So wonderful. Krishna is finally released. But it actually doesn't have to be Maya. If Rishi knows how to very skillfully use this energy of Krishna in his service. But by and large, jobs are Maya. By and large, relationships are Maya. By and large, all of this, things that we're chasing, temporary pleasure, sense gratification of this material world, it's all Maya. But this is all under Krishna's control. But in the Bhagavad Gita it is stated that the material potency is working under his superintendence. It is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita that the material potency known as Durga is acting just as a shadow which moves the movement of the substance. The conclusion is that if one somehow or other becomes attached to Krishna or attracted to him, either because of his beauty, quality, opulence, fame, strength, renunciation, or knowledge, or even through lust, anger, or fear, or affection or friendship, then one's salvation and freedom from material contamination is assured. So if anyone is attracted to the Lord, even out of hatred, actually this happened to me. I was an atheist at one point. I was about 20 years old. And I was very much, not only just an atheist, but I wanted to prove to you and you and you why that I felt that God didn't exist. And so on. I was very much, I actually developed like a hatred towards God, because I felt like this is just this magical fairy tale story that everyone is telling, but there's no proof in it, so I had this. But interestingly enough, my persistent atheism and thought of God, because I was actually always thinking and speaking of God. Before I was just indifferent to God. But in my atheism, I was always speaking of God. Let me argue with you about God. How about you? You want to have an argument about God? And I would do this. And God more and more and more became on my mind. And then actually, as I did pursue the truth, because that was why I was a so-called atheist, because I didn't believe it was the truth. But I did believe in science, and I did believe in pursuing the truth. I do very wholeheartedly feel that some of the captivating experiences that I've had that made me then eventually believe in God, one of them being an out-of-body experience, where many realizations were had. But that I don't feel would have happened had I not been associating with God in the negative way first. So anyway, that's an experience I personally had in my life. But, what's to speak? I got a great blessing with the introduction of spiritual life through hating God. Now, what's to speak of somebody who devotes all waking moments to God, like the gopis? What type of reward is awaiting them, even though they don't even care for reward? Just they just want to serve Krishna. They just want to please Krishna, and that itself is the highest reward. Well, anyway, in the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, the Lord also states that one who is engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness is very dear to him. A preacher has to face many difficulties in his struggle to preach pure Krishna consciousness. Sometimes he has to suffer bodily injuries, and sometimes he has to meet death also. All this is taken as a great austerity on behalf of Krishna. Krishna therefore has said that such a preacher is very, very dear to him. Actually, Jesus says something similar. Blessed are those who are persecuted on behalf of me. Also preaching the message of the Lord. If Krishna's enemies can expect salvation simply by concentrating their minds on him, then what to speak of persons who are so dear to Krishna? The conclusion should be that the salvation of those who are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness in the world is guaranteed in all circumstances. But such preachers never care for salvation, because factually one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, devotional service, has already achieved salvation. Shukadeva Goswami therefore assured King Parikshit that he should always rest assured that one attracted by Krishna attains liberation from material bondage, because Krishna is the transcendental master of all mystic power. So whatever your attraction to Krishna is, you're going to be freed from all type of material attachments. He will do this to you no matter what, even if you hate him. Even if you don't like Krishna, he will do this for you. But what's to speak of those who have a relationship in love? So it's infinitely better. So when all the gopis assembled, now we're going to finally move forward with the Rasa dance, what happened here. So last time, right, we talked, they heard Krishna's flute. It was so beautiful that the gopis dropped everything. Milk on the stove doesn't matter. Feeding their baby doesn't matter. Hanging out with their husbands or relatives or friends, milking cows, worldly duties, none of it mattered. They were running to Krishna. They heard the flute call, and that's where they're going. They wanted to look pretty for him, but they were so anxious. Their makeup was on all wrong. The top parts of their skirts were on the bottom parts and so on. They just couldn't do anything right. They just had to run to Krishna. So when all the gopis assembled as described before Krishna, he began to speak to them, welcoming them as discouraging them by word jugglery. Krishna is the supreme speaker. He's the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. He can speak on the highest elevated subjects of philosophy, politics, economics, everything. And he also spoke before the gopis who were so dear to him. He wanted to enchant them by word jugglery, and thus he began to speak as follows. Would you like to know what he says?
Yes.
Next week. What do you think, Piyush? All right.
Please elaborate on what he said.
What's that?
Please elaborate on what he said.
Thank you, Michael. O ladies of Vrindavan, Krishna said, you are very fortunate, and you are very dear to me. I am very pleased that you have come here, and I hope everything is well in Vrindavan. Now please order me. What can I do for you? What is the purpose of coming here in this dead of night? Kindly take your seats and let me know what I can do for you. The gopis had come to Krishna to enjoy his company, to dance with him, embrace him, and kiss him. Prabhupada is saying. And when Krishna began to receive them very officially, showing all kinds of etiquette, they were surprised. He was treating them as ordinary society women. Therefore they began to smile among themselves, and they very eagerly listened to Krishna talk in that way. When he saw that they were smiling at him, he said, "My dear friends, you must know that it is the dead of night and the forest is very dangerous. At this time all the ferocious jungle animals, the tigers, bears, jackals, and wolves, are prowling in the forest. Therefore it is very dangerous for you. You cannot select a secure place now. Everywhere you go, you will find that all these animals are loitering to find their prey. I think therefore that you are taking a great risk in coming here in the dead of night. Please turn back immediately without delay." When he saw that they continued to smile, he said, "I very much appreciate your bodily features. All of you have nice, very thin waists." So this is what the description of beauty is for the ladies. Very thin waists. All the gopis there were exquisitely beautiful. Exquisite, like, I think it's like rare. Like rarely beautiful. I think it just means exquisite. I mean, exquisite means beautiful. Yes, extremely beautiful and typically delicate. So anyway, all the gopis there were exquisitely beautiful. They are described by the word sumadhyama. The standard of beauty of a woman is said to be sumadhyama when the middle portion of the body is slender. So you see this in the Bhagavatam everywhere. Thin waist, thin waist, thin waist, thin waist. This is what apparently, the emblem of beauty is. But apparently the gopis all had these thin waists. So Krishna wanted to impress on them that they were not old enough to take care of themselves. Actually, they required protection. It was not very wise for them to come in the dead of night to Krishna. Krishna also indicated that he was young and that they were young girls. It does not look very well for young girls and boys to remain together in the dead of night, especially in the Vedic societal context. After hearing this advice, the gopis did not seem very happy. Therefore, Krishna began to stress the point in a different way. Any questions so far about this? Keep going? Yes? Okay. "My dear friends, I can understand that you have left your homes without the permission of your guardians. Therefore, I think your mothers, your fathers, your elderly brothers, or even your sons, and what to speak of your husbands, must be very anxious to find you. As long as you are here, they must be searching in different places, and their minds must be very agitated. So don't tarry. Please go back and make them peaceful." I'm like a word Nazi. I must know what everything means. Tarry. What? More definitions. Don't stay longer than intended. Don't delay. All right. When the gopis appeared to be a little bit disturbed and angry from the free advice of Krishna, they diverted their attention to looking at the beauty of the forest. At that time, the whole forest was illuminated by the bright shining of the moon, and the air was blowing very silently over the blooming flowers, and the green leaves of the trees were moving in the breeze. Remember from last time how the Sharad Purnima, how beautiful it was. This beautiful red moon rising, the sky was, had this reddish tint, all of the perfection of the forest in this season. It was just so beautiful. So now the gopis, they hate to hear what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying, "Oh, no, why have you all come here? You should go back. Your guardians are looking at you." He's actually tempting them with all of their material considerations. He's saying, you actually will see in your devotional life, you'll be maybe practicing your devotional life. And then all of a sudden Krishna says, "No, but what about this material consideration?" And he'll put it right into your hand. "Here, this is for you." And then you say, "Oh, my Krishna consciousness, should I go deeper into my bhakti, into my surrender? Or no, it's right here. I should do this material consideration." And then you take it. But the gopis, they're on a different level. They're not going to take any material consideration. You've all heard at the end of the Ramayana, like Hanuman, why he got to stay with Ram. You've heard this pastime before? So at the end of Ramayan, everyone is with Ram and they're celebrating his victory and return to Ayodhya. And then actually I think very soon is, I think Saturday, Ram
Vijay.
Yeah, Ram Vijaya. What is it called?
Dashera.
Yeah. So this is happening on Saturday. But yeah, at the end, Ram is there. All the devotees are, with him. And he's telling all to go back. And he's like Krishna is saying, well, you have this material consideration. Sugriva, you have the kingdom. The Vanara kingdom. Who will rule? So he sends Sugriva back. And then he's sending everyone back one by one. And then Angada is all worried. He's like, no, I'm the crown regent. I'm going to be the next king. I don't want to. So he's hiding. So he's like, where should I hide? And he hides behind Hanuman. And then so Ram dismisses everyone but Hanuman and Angada. And then he actually sees, he's like, where's Angada? Where's Angada? And so Angada, he comes back and he's like all ashamed. And he's like, yes, Angada, you have this, this, and this. And then they don't want to disobey Ram's order. So they all go and they're very sad that they had these other material considerations that Ram sent them. But Hanuman had nothing. Ram was the only thing that he ever focused on. That's Hanuman. Ram was the only thing he ever focused on. So Ram could not send him back because of this. So Hanuman got to stay with Ram and do personal service. So similarly, Krishna is giving the gopis all of these material considerations. Your sons, your relatives, your women, you're very delicate. There's tigers and bears and jackals, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. You're all Indian, you don't get that reference. For that. Rats. You're too young. You don't even get that reference. Maybe Shivadas gets it.
Who's too young?
Michael's too young.
You ever seen the
Of
Wizard
course
of
I
Oz?
get it.
Yeah.
You've seen the Wizard of Oz.
In a long time ago.
I don't think
That's
so.
classic.
So anyway, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. But they didn't care. They didn't care. He was testing them actually. So he says, when the gopis appeared to be a little bit disturbed and angry from the free advice of Krishna, they diverted their attention to looking at the beauty of the forest. At that time, the whole forest was illuminated by the bright shining of the moon, and the air was blowing very silently over the blooming flowers, and the green leaves of the trees were moving in the breeze. Krishna took the opportunity of their looking at the forest to advise them, I think you have come out to see the beautiful Vrindavan forest on this night. He said, but you must now be satisfied, so return to your homes without delay. I understand that you are all very chaste women. What does chaste mean?
Devoted to husband only.
Yes. Abstaining from extramarital or from all sexual intercourse, but especially extramarital, So Krishna is saying you're all very chaste, women, and actually they are the most chaste women. But instead of being chaste towards their husbands, they're very chaste
There's
towards
also
Krishna.
One more definition. I've read this in Prabhupada's books. The woman who only keeps her head on the husband's chest is chaste.
Mm. So only so completely devoted to their husband. He says, you're all very chaste women, so now that you have seen the beautiful atmosphere of the Vrindavan forest, please return home and engage in the faithful service of your respective husbands. Some of you must have babies by this time. Although you are very young, you must have left your small babies at home, and they must be crying. Please immediately go back home and just feed them with your breast milk. I can also understand that you have very great affection for me, and out of that transcendental affection you have come here, hearing my playing on the flute. Your feelings of love and affection for me are very appropriate, because I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All living creatures are my parts and parcels, and naturally they are affectionate to me. So this affection for me is very much welcome, and I congratulate you for this. Now you can go back to your homes. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, service to the husband without duplicity is the best religious principle. It's probably Airbnb, by the way. Yes. So all living creatures are my parts and parcels, and naturally they are affectionate to me. So this affection for me is very much welcome, and I congratulate you for this. Now you can go back to your homes. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, service to the husband without duplicity is the best religious principle. What is duplicity?
Showing something else and doing something else.
Yes, like a duplicate, right? Duplicity, it means like double meaning. In externally showing one thing. It's actually deceitfulness or double dealing. That's what duplicit. Meaning like, oh, I'm doing like this, but in the heart, some other intention is there. Actually, this is the deceit and hypocrisy. Raghunath Das Goswami describes this in his Mana Shiksha as trickling donkey's urine, in which we like to bathe in. That we all have this very deceitful nature, that we unfortunately it's not like, oh, there's that duplicit person over there. No, we're all so duplicit. We're so deceitful. We like to show one thing, but really in our heart there's something else there. So this is actually a very, very very negative part of being a conditioned soul, is we have this double dealing nature. Yes, I want bhakti, or even in our bhakti, yes, I want bhakti, but actually we're very hypocritical. It's Kali Yuga, and we're very deceitful. Really, we probably don't want pure bhakti. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he comments that unless one is an uttamadikari, we don't even know what bhakti is. We only know bhakti abhas, it's called. A semblance of bhakti. We are not doing any bhakti, actually, until we're an uttamadikari. Why? Because we're deceitful. Because the abhas means we have something else on our mind. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. Let me practice bhakti. But really, what do we want? Karma, jnana. We want something else. So this is our process. We must hear about pure bhakti. We must try to achieve pure bhakti. Find the pure bhakta, hear from that, learn from them, and remove any tendency of deceitfulness. This is lest we like to bathe in donkey's urine, as Raghunath Das Goswami calls it. Anyone want to take a nice golden shower in donkey's urine? That's not funny, do you? Only the ladies in Rishi are laughing. So no, but this is actually a huge issue for the conditioned souls. But he's saying service. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, service to the husband without duplicity is the best religious principle. A woman should be not only faithful and chaste to the husband, but affectionate to the friends of her husband, obedient to the father and mother of the husband, and affectionate to the younger brothers of the husband. And most importantly, the woman must take care of the children. So Krishna is giving the lessons, all the material considerations on what it means to be a woman, being a dharmic woman. So in this way, Krishna explained the duty of a woman. This is called Stri Dharma. He also stressed the point of serving the husband, even if he is not a very good character, even if he is not very rich or fortunate, or even if he is old or invalid on account of continued diseases, whatever her husband's condition, a woman should not divorce her husband if she actually desires to be, he's saying, this is a quote. A woman should not divorce her husband if she actually desires to be elevated to the higher planetary systems after leaving this body. Besides that, if it is considered abominable in society if a woman is unfaithful and goes searching for another man. Such habits will deter a woman from being elevated to the heavenly planets. And the results of such habits are very degrading. A married woman should not search for a paramour, for this is not sanctioned by the Vedic principles of life. If you think that you are very much attached to me and you want my association, I advise you not to personally try to enjoy me. It is better for you to go home, simply talk about me, think of me, and by this process of constantly remembering me and chanting my names, you will surely be elevated to the spiritual platform. There is no need to stand near me. Please go back home. So Krishna is rejecting them. And he's telling them all the while, you must be a dharmic. You must do your dharma. You're women, you're Stri, do your Stri dharma. You have husbands, you have children, you have so many things. Actually, in bhakti, sometimes, I hear this a lot, sometimes someone like Michael might be very enthusiastic in their bhakti. And then the advice was, no, Michael, don't get too, don't get too enthusiastic. Take it slow. Go back to school. Take your time, a little bit of bhakti and things like this. And that's actually, Krishna even does that. Krishna's doing like this. He's saying, do your dharma. Go do all the, the things like this. But we're going to see a character trait of the gopis that is unordinary. Actually, do you guys remember the Brahmins' wives? Mm-hmm. We did this pastime maybe a couple months back now. The Brahmins' wives did the same thing. They left their husbands, they left everything, even their dharma at the immediate moment, to go see Krishna. But then Krishna gave all these reasons, same exact type of reasons. He said, don't worry, your husbands will accept you. Don't worry. And what did they do?
Went back to their husbands and families.
Yes. But did they do it out of affection for their husbands?
No.
Why did they do it?
Because Krishna said so.
Because Krishna said so. That's one thing. Okay, Krishna is recommending this. Like actually in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says so many things. Many people, they read Bhagavad Gita and they say, oh yes, Krishna says like this. I will do just like this. But the gopis have a very special qualification. Very, very special qualification. That's so unordinary. And you're going to see that even if Krishna himself were to obstruct them from achieving Krishna, they will not listen. Even if Krishna himself says, no, go back. This is not good, all these considerations. Their desire to please Krishna so much that they will not listen to Krishna himself. So this is very, very high qualification. The Brahmins' wives, they listen to Krishna. Well, this is what he wants. I must listen to him. I'm very faithful to him. But the gopis, they have these personalities are different. They said, oh, Krishna is saying these things and he's obstructing my service to him. Krishna, you rascal, and then they'll chastise him. Let us serve you nicely. This is different. The instruction given herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the gopis was not at all sarcastic. Such instruction should be taken very seriously by all honest women. The chastity of women is specifically stressed herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, this principle should be followed by any serious woman who wants to be elevated to a higher status of life. Krishna is the center of all affection for all living creatures. When this affection is developed for Krishna, then one surpasses and transcends all Vedic injunctions. This was possible for the gopis because they saw Krishna face to face. This is not possible for any women in the conditioned state. Unfortunately, by imitating the behavior of Krishna with the gopis, sometimes a rascal takes the position of Krishna, following the philosophy of monism or oneness, and he very irresponsibly takes advantage of this Rasa Leela to entice many innocent women and mislead them in the name of spiritual realization. As a warning, Lord Krishna has herein hinted that what was possible for the gopis is not possible for ordinary women. Although a woman can actually be elevated by advanced Krishna consciousness, she should not be enticed by an impostor who says that he is Krishna. She should concentrate her devotional activities in chanting and meditating upon Krishna, as is advised herein. One should not follow the men called sahajya, the so-called devotees who take everything very lightly. So it's not cheap. It's not that, let's just leave all our dharma behind and let's just go run away and surrender unto Krishna. We don't even know what that means. The gopis, they had personal association with Krishna. Completely different. Completely different. So we should follow in the footsteps of the great masters who have illuminated this path. Prabhupada is telling how actually Krishna is giving very, very proper instructions. He's not just testing them, he's actually giving everyone very proper instructions on how to do proper activity. But when it comes to Krishna himself, the gopis, you're going to see that they actually transcend all these rules, and they'll eventually conquer Krishna with their own arguments. So we'll see what that looks like. But we actually don't have much time. When Krishna spoke in such a discouraging way to the gopis, they became very sad, and for they thought that their desire to enjoy Ras dance with Krishna would be frustrated. Thus they became full of anxiety. Out of great sadness, the gopis began to breathe very heavily. Instead of looking at Krishna face to face, they bowed their heads and looked to the ground, and they began to draw various types of curved lines on the ground with their toes. They were shedding heavy tears, and their cosmetic decorations were being washed from their faces. The water from their eyes mixed with the kumkum of their breasts. Kumkum's like, that's the reddish powder, right? They would smear. I always hear this. I can't picture it because it's not part of Western culture at all. But, it's always being described as the smearing of kumkum on the breasts of the gopis. That was part of their cosmetic decoration. So with the kumkum of their breasts and fell to the ground, they could not say anything to Krishna, but simply stood there silently. By their silence, they expressed that their hearts were grievously wounded. The gopis were not ordinary women. In essence, they were on an equal level with Krishna. They are his eternal associates, as it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. They are expansions of the pleasure potency of Krishna. And as his potency, they are none different from him. Although they were depressed by the words of Krishna, they did not like to use harsh words against him. Yet they wanted to rebuke Krishna for his unkind words, and therefore they began to speak in faltering voices. They did not like to use harsh words against Krishna because he was their dearmost, their heart and soul. The gopis had only Krishna within their hearts. They were completely surrendered and dedicated souls. Naturally, when they heard such unkind words, they tried to reply, but in the attempt, torrents of tears fell from their eyes. Finally, they managed to speak. So now we heard all of Krishna speaking. We'll have to do now, actually, the gopis speaking next week because it will be deep. Any questions up until this point? Maybe we have time to field one or two before we get to the next aspect. Yes?
So for the Ras dance, it said that it goes on for a whole night of Brahma, but is the whole sequence the same, or is it just continues as the dance for the, does every night?
No, not every night
This doesn't happen. This happens every
this is the first Ras dance where this act of what are you doing, why are you here? But then after that they meet every night to do these type of activities. So this is the first Ras dance, the Sharad Purnima Ras dance, this pastime. But the gopis and Krishna are always doing Ras dances for many years. In this world, it happened, I think, for 8 years. But in Goloka Vrindavan, this is always the activity between the gopis and Krishna. But this is just the one initial Ras dance. And this is also meant to bring us, who are approaching this Ras dance ourselves via hearing from the Bhagavatam, up to the platform of actually understanding the Ras dance. Krishna is didactic in how he teaches. How he acts teaches us many things. So this is the nature of Ras dance. At least I know. I'm not qualified of anything. Anything else? Michael?
How can one discriminate whether to follow Krishna's instruction or not? Looks often, I don't know, I personally want to follow what Krishna's saying, but if there's a time, like for example, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, he's explaining to do your duty, but then at the end he's saying to give up your duty and just surrender unto me. So how can one discriminate whether or not to partake in like a dharmic activity or to?
So there's three ways. So you understand one way, which is Shastra. You like Bhagavad Gita, you like Srimad Bhagavatam, and you hear and you follow these things. But then you might wonder, well, I'm a conditioned soul. How can I understand Shastra properly? How can I actually... So then you need the checkpoint of sadhu and guru. So you should have other spiritualists who are also understanding these things, the sadhus. And then also the most qualified sadhu would be guru. You know, in your life, we've mentioned 3 different types of gurus. The prime guru is the Shiksha guru. And ultimately, you know, hopefully your Diksha guru is a very potent Shiksha guru in your life. So this is the way that you can understand, you know, what Krishna wants, you know, because, you know, that's why Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, because so many people were taking the Shastra and interpreting as it isn't. But through the sadhus and ultimately a bona fide spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada, you can get as it is. So if you actually want to follow what Krishna wants, yes, you should read Shastra, but you should also hear from the sadhus, the active sadhus, and a guru, and it all should line up. It's not that the guru says something but it doesn't line up with Shastra, or it says that the sadhu says something and it doesn't line up with guru and Shastra. There are different levels of sadhu and guru as well. If you actually learn what the adhikari system, like in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, Krishna explains what the adhikaris are. There's the levels of devotee, and you can have Kanishta adhikari, so-called sadhus, which are neophyte devotees, and you could hear from them, and you could even have a Kanishta adhikari guru, as Prabhupada has mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction. It's not recommended, there will always be problems like that. And you could have Madhyam adhikari guru. Most gurus in ISKCON, at least they will say that they're of the Madhyam adhikari. You know, that will be their humble admission. But it is described what Uttam adhikari looks like. It is described what their activities look like. Even Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he goes into extensive detail of what this looks like in, I say, like the Madhurya Kadambini. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur also describes this in detail as well. But ultimately, yeah, you'll have to be shown. You'll have to be shown by somebody who has a higher qualification than you. So you can interpret one thing, but you're coming from a conditioned state. So the first is good. You're attracted to Shastra. All right, what is Krishna saying? Now, let me see. That's very good. And now the second part of that would be what are the sadhus and ultimately the gurus? How are they enlightening me on this Shastra? Like for instance, if we read the Rasa dance, see all of this Krishna book is Prabhupada's illuminations on how to see this thing. If we didn't have that, we would be in a lot of trouble in how we interpret it, and we would interpret it in probably a completely different or even wrong way. So that's how. Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, you find these things, and they will always help you. Good? Okay. Any last thing before we do Vibhavara Shesha?
So, just tell me if this is right. So when Krishna says abandon all varieties of religion,
Yes.
is he also saying abandon karma yoga, jnana yoga, and do bhakti yoga?
Yeah, you know in the Nectar of Devotion, you know, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Jnana
Jnana karma, the anavrita.
Yes. Karma, jnana,
Anavrita.
anavritam.
Krishna is
Anukulyena
Upama
Krishnanu
Vishnu
Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama. So, pure devotion is without any, which is the ultimate goal of bhakti yoga, is without any tinge of karma or jnana. But at the same time, we have to understand our qualification. It's not that so easy and cheap, like Bhaktivinoda is explaining. Unless we're an uttam adhikari, then we are actually not doing pure bhakti.
Yeah.
So who is an uttam adhikari? Most gurus in ISKCON will very humbly say, I'm trying to be a madhyam adhikari. So we can't just do bhakti, He says this is the recommendation, this is the highest thing. Arjuna could follow that, but we can only strive for it, But yeah, that is ultimately, as far as I know, that is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, and that's the kind of the conclusion. But how do you even do that? It's the verse before that, Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. So we have to always think of Krishna, become his devotee, offer our respect and obeisances and everything unto him. And over time, it is a gradual process that will actually achieve pure bhakti. But in the beginning, there's so much things. But there is a process, like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's the creeper of bhakti, and of how it sprouts. And it starts with Shraddha, you have some faith. So maybe you have some faith in the Shastras, you have faith in Krishna, you might have faith. So what do? You would do this. I want to go gather with devotees. And so I want to learn more, I want to hear more. So you do some sadhu sangha. So what do the devotees do for you? They tell you, all right, well, hey Shivadas, you should take some of those beads over there. We got beads for you. Hey Piyush, you should come for the morning program. We do these things. What do? They engage you in bhajana kriya. You do spiritual activities. So then you start doing spiritual activities. And then the devotees, they might say, okay, now we have to actually, get to the point now where we have to regularly do this. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. But then there's the obstacle phase, where the anartha nivritti, where things like deceit, things like material desires. This is the jnana and karma getting in the way of doing pure bhakti. We have to remove these things. So it's gradual, and it also has to do with our sincerity. If we only want to practice and only achieve those things, then it's like you can't have both. You either have to choose the path of bhakti and remove that thing, or you have to choose the path of karma or jnana and get the reward that you really want out of it. So this is, so Krishna has yogas for this. There's karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga. But, of course, Krishna wants you to give all that up, if you can, and surrender only unto him. But who will do? Very few, very few. Even, you'll see, even the gopis, before today, the last week, we talked to the gopis who couldn't make it. They still had a little bit of tinge of karma and jnana still there. And Krishna had to burn it up by not allowing them to go to the Rasa dance. And then they finally were able to do the pure bhakti. There was still a little tinge, the littlest tinge there. So, for them, what's to speak of us? We're so filled. But we can see this is the path of pure bhakti. And we can strive for it. And actually, the only qualification to be able to practice like this is to develop a greed for that I want that. And no one can take greed from you. You could be a poor man, like a homeless man. He could be, he's like, well, I want to be like Donald Trump. When no one wants to be like Donald Trump anymore. Who does he want to be? Yeah, I want to be like Elon Musk. This poor man. But no one could take that away from him. Everything else, he could greed, I want this, I want this, I want this. But the greed itself, no one could take that from him. So as devotees, if we can have greed, I want this highest level of devotion. I want pure bhakti. I want to be able to be a great, not a great devotee, because that's to be a great devotee in relation to others. That's not devotional at all. That's actually has something to do with karma, pratishta and pride. But I want to please Krishna. I want to purely please Krishna and offer everything to Krishna. I want to serve like the Brajabasis. I want to serve like the gopis. I want to serve like Nanda, Yashoda, whoever is attracted. That's all. Then Krishna will arrange. But do we even have that? That's the only qualification, is to have that greed. And but if we don't, that's okay. There's a process. The Vaidhi Bhakti process is there. So, that starts with, regular chanting, regular hearing, right? Regular activities. And then removing the obstacles. There's so many obstacles in the way. Actually, luckily, just by hearing Krishna's pastimes, like we've been doing, each demon represents an obstacle. And if you know how Krishna slays this demon, you could also know the obstacle to be removed. But it's all, lust, greed, anger, deceit, hypocrisy, all of these things. And we have to evaluate in our life, how am I doing this? And you might find, I'm doing this in so many ways. But it's okay, but it's not okay, Like, it's not okay in the long run, but it's okay to admit that's where I'm at to start. But then we have to work on this process and become fixed. And then eventually, when you become fixed, you'll develop such a taste in your spiritual activities that those things can't even touch you anymore. Unless you make offenses to devotees, then everything could always fall apart. But, But yeah, all this is explained. Our Goswami's literatures have so many. I'm just kind of getting a taste of them now, but they actually go into extensive detail about all these things and how to achieve these positions and to increase our adhikari and so on. But the main thing is we just have to have a greed. If we have the greed, then Krishna will help us, to get deeper. So should we do a bhajan to end?
Yes.
Yes?
Maybe we can choose a different bhajan.
Because Vibha Vishesh is a little long.
Yeah.
Well, what bhajan? You have any?
That's my suggestion for it.
I mean, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande is
Yeah,
good.
it's nice.
That is a nice one. So you guys all pull Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande up. So thank you who joined